What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today what I want to do is go over how to make sure your MAMP local server on macOS is properly configured. We're going to be going over how to make sure you have the correct settings in your php.ini file. We're going to go over setting up your path environment and how to work with your shell environment as well. Alright, so if you want to support the channel, head on over to pixelmerp.com to WordPress themes and consider making a purchase of DevWP. I put in thousands of hours into developing this theme and years to make sure that I have an efficient and productive workflow. If you make a purchase, it helps to support the channel. You can also check out some of my other videos where I demonstrate how to create a custom WordPress theme and show you some of the tools I use. Alright, so if you're working on macOS, I definitely recommend using MAMP. You could use others, but by far this is the easiest one to get started with, so I definitely recommend it. Alright, so we see here, I already have my MAMP server started. We see the PHP version that I'm using. You have a couple of options there. We also see that in my preferences, in the ports, I'm using Apache port 80 and MySQL port 3306. Reason why I'm using those is because I want to make sure that I have a standard URL with just the folder name instead of using 8888. I do this because I do code on both macOS and Windows, and I want to keep things kind of consistent. Alright, so since I have my server started, you could always go to the tools section and PHP info, and here you get some information about your PHP configuration. Alright, so let me go to VS Code. I'm going to be using the terminal, and the first thing I want to do is show you that I'm using the Z shell right here. You might be using Bash, but if you're using a newer version of macOS, then you're most likely using the Z shell. You could also type out echo $0 and press return, and that shows you the location of your shell. You could also type out which ZSH, and it shows you the location of that. If you're using Bash, then it would be which and then bash. Alright, so to open your ZSH-RC file, because that's the one you're going to edit, to make sure that your path environment is set up properly, you would type out open the tilde sign / ZSH-RC and hit return. And for me, it opened it up right within my editor. So let's take a look at this here. Alright, so if we see on the first line, I'm exporting to the path my PHP executable file, or I'm making PHP available via my path environment. You would change up this version number to match the version you're using for your MAMP server. On line 2, I have another export over here, and this is for a different bin folder that I created, and I'll go more into that when I create the video on WP CLI on macOS. And then I have the export path, MAMP library bin into path. Let me make this larger just in case. So if you make any changes, you would save the file, go back into terminal, and then you would type out source, the tilde sign, / ZSH-RC, and then hit return. And then any changes you make will apply those changes in this current terminal session and moving forward. Alright, so now you can also see which version of PHP you're working with, and you can see where that PHP file is located at. And that's the executable file. And as you see, it matches this right here. That's the PHP executable file. Let me clear the screen. Alright, so you could also see where your ini file is, and that's the file that we're going to be using to make sure that our settings are properly configured and to have our installation run smoothly. Alright, so we can go right here, option click it, and then you see we're in the location of the php.ini file. I'll just go to the top, make this a little bit smaller for now. So there's a couple of values that if you don't already have it set up from a previous video that I created, these are the values you should have. I'm going to run a search, and right here I have my memory limit set to 2048 M. Then I'm going to look for max execution time, and I change that to 600, or you can change it to 300 depending on how much resources you want to have for that. And then input time, I change it to 240. And then post max, I change that to 64. And then upload max, I change that to 64 as well. So those are the values that I have set up for php.ini, and that's how you can see which shell environment you're working with. And so all your files and folders for your development process will be located in the applications MAMP HC docs folder. And in upcoming videos, we'll go over how to set up your WordPress development workflow with MAMP. Alright, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And again, if you want to support the channel, make a purchase of DevWP. It enables me to continue to make these videos, and it gives you all the files and the code and the folders and documentation and how to set up an efficient and productive WordPress development workflow. Check out my other videos, and don't forget to subscribe. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Happy coding!